Hi, everybody. You're listening to That Thing We Do, a podcast for all you 20, 30 somethings out there in need of an OMG yes moment in your life. If it's related to any of the three M's, media, milestones, or moments in your life, we've got you covered, fellow human. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode for this week. I'm sorry, this is actually going to be a solo podcast because my friends and I, that were supposed to do our get together for tea based drinks, unfortunately ran into a few technical difficulties. So we will have to get that episode out for you next Monday. I'm your host, Abby, and thanks again for joining us for another episode of TTWD. I don't know if that's what's going to be the name. We're still hanging on to it. Please stand by. But I'm really glad we have another episode out, and it is coming at the end of March. Amazing. So we're about to start the new month strong, coming in for April. We got some great topics and ideas and guests lined up for you guys, so get ready for that. So for today's episode, let's talk about tipping your food delivery app person. How you deal with it, how do you approach it, and do you ever feel differently during or after the exchange? Yes. Let's talk about it. For all of you out there that order food during the pandemic, maybe once, twice a week, once a month, when you're ready to place your order, you know that they always include the tip section at the end for the delivery person. And growing up, I've always never really understood tipping that well, except for like when you go out with friends and then somebody in the group tells you 15%, and then you all take out your phone calculators and you're like, how much did I pay? And what does 15% mean? So I guess now as an adult who has earned her own money and enjoys giving a little bit extra in different areas of my life, I was like, 15%, it's good, but it could be better. And then, of course, there's the whole journey of getting your food to you, and then that becomes a whole other assessment, which to me always works against my plan to give, or it works in good. And let me explain. You know that thing you do when you're waiting for the food, and then it finally arrives, you meet the person, you get the food. I don't know if it's just me, but depending on the exchange of when the food got into my hand and how it got into my hand, then I'll rethink the tip that I gave just based on that interaction. And I don't know if that's a thing that other people do besides me. To be very frank, if the person was just nice to me or they seemed like they were decent people, I end up usually giving more or I try to round it up to a higher number. And then it's like I develop a backstory. I don't know if anyone else does this, but then I develop a backstory about the delivery driver in my mind. Oh, maybe they have a struggling family, or like they're doing this to survive, and I'm gonna give them a little bit more because they seem like they're really nice people and they're just trying to get by. And for all we know, for a lot of Uber drivers that I've been like in cars with, they always tell me that this is like some side hustle. Not always, but there's a lot. So then I always like have to remember that and like calm down. Maybe they don't need that much tip. I'm not saying don't tip. I'm just saying I have to think about that all the time. And then obviously there's the opposite effect where you meet someone, you want to give them a nice tip. They're either kind of rude or your food's all fucked up. And you're like, no, now I have to decrease it. Or I have to just, or you're, yeah, and you, yeah, that's it. And so I deal with that a lot as a delivery person. And you know what? That's probably just me now that I think about it. I don't know if anyone has these internal like thoughts about the delivery of food, but I definitely have a issue with like personifying my delivery Uber drivers. So for all of you out there that have ever received anywhere between $2 and $10 worth of tip, thank you. That's, I don't know. I was like, how do I like address both sides? People that did a great job, with the people I was like, yeah, you could have did better. Yeah, that's where this story was going. I think that's a really telling thing, right, about how the Uber system works and how tipping for delivery services work. It's so like set up for us that you don't even really have to think about what you're tipping. And sometimes, it does get the job for you, so you don't have to hopefully take out your phone calculator like I used to do growing up. And now I can just kind of be like, oh, perfect. ad. But also too, like, it does have its drawbacks in terms of people kind of abusing the system, not in terms of tipping, but I'm also now just kind of talking more generally about food delivery apps. Like, my ex used to tell me all the weird stories that his roommate would do to like get free food, and eventually I think he was banned from one of them because he kept getting refunds too many times. I guess they caught on that he was kind of doing something to keep reporting and keep getting it. I don't know. I don't really know what happened. I just know that that does exist, right? And that's another thing that I really like about food delivery apps is if there's an issue with your food, right? You can report it, and there is like a pretty good grace system that they have. I've noticed that. I don't know why this is turning into like a review of Uber Eats. We are not sponsored, although that would be cool. But just to say that it is pretty nice how efficient their system is. Like, I know for probably a lot of you out there, maybe a food item you had was missing. I know I got some, or something didn't taste right. One time I got a hair in my Chinese food and I was like, help? And the thing with the Uber Eats app is that, yeah, it was pretty great. It was just like, okay, we'll refund you for that one item. Here you go. And I was like, oh, thanks. Anyone could be lying, but they're really good with that efficiency. And not to say I was. Yeah, I just like how they're just like, okay, we trust you. Here you go. And another thing, going back to Uber Eats or any food delivery app delivery person, there was a moment that I had actually recently where an older gentleman was delivering my food from Tim Hortons, and he literally told me, I think you should report the way that they're stapling the food. And this is something that I don't think a lot of us ever really think about. Like, I've had a lot of food delivery people come and the food is the food bag is stapled, obviously to keep the food in. And he was telling me very, very like urgently, like his life was going to depend on it. He told me, you need to get this reported because I used to work in the food operations side, I guess on the other end. And he's like, we went through a period where a stapled bag of food, like the staple got in the food and there was a huge upset, and that's a really scary thing. And he's like, they don't understand this. So I think you need to help give more awareness to that. And so he was like, tell the app. And I was like, oh my God, okay. Obviously it is a concern. It is a food safety issue. And I was like, you know what? Let me just do something about it. I mean, I know the food workers, they're probably not like, they don't mean anything malicious with it. And he did mention that not only the restaurant, but like other restaurants, they have like other ways to close the bags. They have tape. But he said they use staples because it's a little bit faster, which does kind of track. And he was like, basically like, he was like, spread the word, send out the ravens. And I was like, at first I was like, nah, I'm not gonna do this. And then I realized, you know what? He's really passionate about this. He was a nice guy. I gave him a little bit of a higher tip because of the nice part, but the fact that he also wanted me to be safe and to make others safe, I was like, okay, I'll just do this and we'll see. So I sent Uber Eats an app notice about the food, took that picture. He told me to take the picture. He would not stop telling me to take a picture. And I didn't mean to get a refund out of it. I did. So I was like, sweet. But at the same time, it was kind of, I guess, nice knowing that there was a spread of awareness about this staple thing. So not to say for all of you guys out there, start telling everybody to stop stapling their food. But I think the whole point of me telling that story was food delivery app delivery people are people. And, sometimes you don't realize what kind of exchange you're going to get until you have it. And then how that all reflects back in the tipping process that goes on in your mind and on your phone. So, yeah, that was what I wanted to talk about for today. Very random, but also very, actually kind of fun. I actually kind of like that. Anyway, so that's all for today's episode. I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. There's not much else to pull from the wonderful world of tipping and food delivery. If you are a food delivery person out there, thank you for your service. Please be safe and know that there are people like me that do really think about the tipping system and how well we want to tip you. So, keep that in mind. And for all of you other people out there that are tippers, please be considerate. It is nice. You don't know what someone's going through, but also don't be too nice. Unless you're really, really like charitable for that moment, then yeah, you know what? Do that. I don't really know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to balance it again. You do you, okay? Like as the send-off message of this podcast. Everybody have a great week. We'll see you again on Monday. I have been your host, Abby, and you have been listening to That Thing We Do. And remember, if you have any suggestions or questions you want to send to me and the other guests that want to come on, let us know. And that's all for now. All right, guys, take care. And as I said before, you do you.